Hello, Gemini. Welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor, and today I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. But first, we're going to start with, pulling a tarot card, right? We need to see what the energy of this thing is going to be. Ooh, we have the Six of Swords. This is a card, an energy, a room that we should all be so lucky to find ourselves in. It's not always like the most exciting energy, but it is one of mental clarity. It is one of being able to look at a situation, look at the variables of the situation, and find pathways. Right? Find, make a plan. How are we going to do this thing? How are we going to get this done? Right? Doing the science, basically. And so, when we get this card, when we come into this energy, I know that we're dealing with some truth, right? Sometimes confronting, but also sometimes a real sense of relief, because it's like, man, now I see it. I see it for what it is, and now I have to figure out what is the best way forward. And I don't know about you. I'm a Virgo. I know you're a Gemini. We get along. I need to know what I'm doing. I need to know at least kind of a rough sketch of what's happening. What am I going to be doing in this next period of time, So this is a good energy. I'm glad we are using our mental capacity to its fullest now, and that's not a bad thing. Okay, so immediately I want to first I need to I had a little itch there, itch my arm. And we're going to start. I just want to look at this. This is a really powerful symbol here. So we have the deer right here. You can see the upper part of it. It would be like a bust of it, kind of. And then up here, we have what looks like some kind of altar or cliff or some kind of elevated, pedestal or whatever. And then we have a person standing here with maybe like a robe or a dress on, arm raised, holding, it looks like a wand, maybe it's a dagger, and the head of a deer as well. So this is a practitioner, a high priest, a high priestess, a child of magic, right? We also have that deer symbology, which is all about spiritual revelation. Okay, the deer is the perfect example of how kind of skittish, maybe is that the right word? Maybe skittish spirit can be, the divine can be. Now there are days, there are times, there are moments when it is potent. You can't even get rid. Like if you tried, you couldn't get rid of it. There are most other times where it is very subtle, right? It is hidden in the ordinary. And this is the feeling of the deer. We are in the physical world, in our regular life, and suddenly this beautiful, shining, there's a star glowing above it, stag, deer, doe, whatever kind of deer, walks in, and it's a moment of just quiet, of reflection. And then the realization. And then we begin to anticipate, right? What's the next move? This thing's gonna, go running. Definitely, that's what they do. So what is my next move? What is my next intention? Not only that energy, but the energy of being in an archetype of knowing, of wisdom, of power, strength. Okay? Having this creative force. Raising up your intention, right? Like if this was the raising it up, right? Now, we're not raising our hand open and we are not lifting up an offering. No, we are stating our intention to the universe. We are exacting our ability to affect and deploying it, right? Putting it out into the aether. So you might be somebody who is getting into magic. You already are very seasoned. You might be a practitioner that's been going for many years. I don't know. You might be picking up manifesting or something like law of attraction or, whatever one is the big one right now. I know it shifts. But I see you using these kinds of philosophies, these kinds of, it is magic in my mind. I group it all into magic. Understandings of frequency, of energy flow, of how to align oneself with whatever your desire is. And how to get that to be attracted to you, to come into your life, to, live within your reality. And so we also have, and we're not going to spend the whole time on that. We have the number 12. We have a house. Okay. We have a money sign. We have, it looks like a person wearing a hat. Isn't that wild how it comes out so clearly sometimes? It looks like they have like a little hat on. You can see the nose, it's like side profile, and then their arm is kind of like in like this. This is the upper torso and gazing kind of out this way. And then over here, it looks like almost like an 8 or memories or, like a backpack that has eggs in it, something like this. Now above, we have the heart. That's what I'm reading that as a heart. We also have another deer who is kind of in a resting position. So I get this feeling of being away from home often, right? I almost wonder if you had like a father figure, a brother, like an older brother, a masculine energy in the home who was gone a lot. Not at least in your understanding, not for frivolous reasons, but for things like work. Maybe like a truck driver or a salesperson or, whatever. Some kind of business person that's traveling a lot. It feels to me almost like this is something that you really lamented as a child because you missed this person in your life, in your household. Oops, I hit the thing. And I want to say it delicately because I think a lot of us do this. And I'm just going to say a lot of us do this. I feel like part of your process as a human being has been to kind of live out the same or similar cycle where you have in some way or had, it might not be now, maybe you've been aware of this and you've processed it. But you yourself have been absent physically, and let me just say, I think this is very much a physical, like you have a job that keeps you out of the house a lot, or you know, you maybe you work at like a hospital, you work long shifts, or you know, you're working multiple jobs just to keep up, and you don't get to see your kids as much as you want to, or you know, whatever it is. I feel like there is kind of a realization that, you know, what you really didn't want to do, like your parents, right? Or whoever it was, somebody in your life who felt like a caretaker, felt like somebody core to your life. You didn't want to be a person that was away from the home all the time. Now, I feel like this is something that, you know, just transpired through situationally. I don't think that this is necessarily a conscious choice, right? Although maybe you love work, you know, and you spend a lot of your time in it. And even when you are home, you're kind of in your work stuff. So what I feel is kind of happening here is that there is this kind of repeating, right? There is this kind of, like almost like sometimes we have to do what they did so we can kind of understand. But also choose, you know, when you become very aware that you are like in this behavior or in this lifestyle or whatever, learning to change it, right? Learning to change the thing that you maybe promised yourself you would never do, right? I would never do this to my kids. I would never live like this. I would never do what my parents did. And then you end up doing it, and then what? You can either keep doing it or change it. And I think that's the thing here, is that you are going through a process of changing the coping mechanism, changing the behavior, changing the lifestyle, you know, and confronting that within yourself. It's not easy work. And it might be something very benign, you know, or it could be something that's very destructive. You know, for me, of course, it's been a lot of different things, but when I was, you know, well, I mean, there's so many things. I don't know. You don't need examples from me. You know what I'm saying. But there are things. I've repeated my parents' mistakes, of course, you know. And to some degree, it has helped humanize them. On the other side of it, it opens up it can open up another kind of cavern of pain and hurt, because then you start to realize, like, well, the choice was easy for me, you know, and I saw that this wasn't it, and now I'm changing how I did it, and it was, you know, it sucked, but it wasn't the end of the world, right? To alter how you live, to alter how you communicate, treat people, whatever, to better the situation. And then you look back and you think, but my parents never did that. And that's where a lot of us get stuck, right? And so, and I don't just mean parents. It could be an old partner. It could be, you know, like I said, a sibling, somebody who is maybe older, whatever it is. So here I feel that this is something where you are unlocking an aspect of self, right? You've done this work. You've gone through this work. You've done it. You maybe have done it for far longer than you ever thought, right? Decades. And now I think that there is a change here. And it feels good to me. It feels like there is a sense of confidence rising in you, because you know that you are in control of not only self, but the aspects of your life, right? I think sometimes we can get into these places where we just absolutely succumb to the belief that this is just how things are, or it's always been like this, or, well, what am I supposed to do about it? And, if you are a person that is living a spiritually alchemical life, or doing self-work or self-development, or whatever it is, these are the kinds of things that we have to face. And I know it's not always the most interesting for a reading, but to me, this is where the real meat of the stuff is. So anyways, let's take a look. We're going to look over here. We have, it looks to me like a coffee pot. Do you remember those, like the metal ones? It's like a electric kettle, I think is what they're called. But it's like a coffee pot. Very specific here. Now we also have what looks like a lighthouse, or some kind of light that like really is like drawing maybe you, maybe others. Now I'm looking. It kind of almost looks like a really big Stanley cup. And a person carrying it. Like it's so heavy. And here we have a person holding what looks like the same pot right here. You see it? And here's the head of the person. They're holding this pot. We have another person over here. Here's the head, the body, legs, saying something. But we also have the arrow, which tells me this is almost a... Oh, and we have a clown up there. Look at that. It looks like a clown. Like here's the head and the little, like a jester. That's what I should say. Jester. With the little hat and all that. And then we have a house. Look at how nice that house came out. It's wild how these tea leaves just set themselves up. I mean, it's ridiculous. I've had people ask. They're like, oh, do you like form them yourself? No, dude. Are you kidding me? I could never in my life create the images that the tea leaves show us. They are so much better. Okay, so there's somebody that I feel like is in love with you, or at least always like trying to insert themselves into your life. This is a person that has kind of a frivolous disposition. Okay, kind of a happy-go-lucky or silly disposition. Okay, I feel that they have at times probably stated their interest in you. I just don't feel like you are very into this idea. I almost feel like it's kind of like a thing where it could work. You could make it work. There are benefits to it. Those probably outweigh the negatives, just on a very like practical level, as far as like financials and domestic and shared vision of like how you want to live, what you want to strive for, these kinds of things. I feel like it all kind of matches up, but there's just an underlying feeling. And I feel like there's somebody in your ancestry or elders who is really, and then it's a coffee person. This person, I don't know why, but, well, I do. They probably drank a lot of coffee is probably why. But this person, as soon as I'm like even experiencing them directly, it feels like I'm hearing about their coffee. Gotta have my coffee. Let's have a cup of coffee. I'm gonna go put on another pot of coffee kind of thing. And so they watch out for you. They watch out for you. And I feel like there's a sense of needing to protect your light with this person who does feel like a jovial, probably pretty kind-hearted, sweet person, but there is a darkness. There comes like a real darkness with them. I don't know if it's like an anger issue, if it's obsessive, if it is controlling, or all of the above. But I get a real distinct feeling of the harder they try to put on this, like, I'm happy, I'm laughing, everything's cool, I'm easygoing. It's like their hands are clenching tighter. You know what I mean? Like, you can see in their body language that, like, there's something completely different happening in the interior. And that's not to say like this is a bad or evil person. I don't believe in all of that. I believe in evil, of course, but I've only experienced 2 people in my life who I really was like, okay, this I like, it takes your breath away, because it does. You feel like you are in the room with a predator, right? Like a large cat. I don't mean like, this person's trying to get over on me. This person, they might hurt me, or they seem a little unstable, or whatever. Not that. This is like you are being hunted kind of feeling. Like, I don't know that this person is to that degree, but I do feel like there's an underlying darkness there. And I love the dark, so I don't mean to put it back on, like, put that on darkness, but it's a mystery because it's so managed. But you, as a Gemini, because you dwell in so many aspects of self and states of being, and you're not afraid to, just be who you are and how you feel in that moment. You're very fluid in that way. You have that Mercury, energy. You can see in other people when they're being inauthentic. And not only that, if there's something like almost uncanny, or like their story just doesn't quite make sense, or you know what I mean? Like, you clock it immediately. You're like, okay. And unfortunately, this kind of person can feel you retract, right? And then what do they usually do? They lean in more, right? They start doing, they're trying to weave the thought patterns and webs around you, or whatever, gaslight you, or whatever they call I can't say that. Trying to get your thinking to align with what they want you to think or feel, right? So it's a process of like slowly tinkering with that. And when you retract, it's like it just 100% more. Like what do they call that? Love bombing or whatever. I don't know. I think I'm just like, I'm not a love bomber, but like, I love real hard. I love to be in love, and I love to express that. Is it like that all the time? No. Right? But there are times where it is, it goes hard. So I don't know. I always am like, what does that actually mean? Because I think I don't know. But anyways, there are people who weaponize it though. Absolutely. Absolutely. We know this from our families, right? We know this from our families. And so I feel like you know what's up. I'm not gonna tell you you have to be careful. Please be careful. I don't trust anybody. I know you don't trust anybody. So we just have to, when we're dealing with somebody that has their gaze upon us and they really have built something up in their mind, you know what I mean? If you have engaged them or not, it feels like an ick. It becomes an ick. Because I feel like at first you're like, oh, this is like a pretty, yeah, they're cool. They're so, I always feel like they come with like a really good attitude, and I like that vibe. And then you start to see, right? And then you notice the little, what was that about? I'm gonna think about that when I'm on break and staring at the wall for a few minutes. We're gonna unwrap that a little bit. But yeah, and then you start to really, yep, that's it. I clocked it, but you have, like, it sucks, but we have to be careful with people. You just never know. You just never know. So here's always the thing I say about these kinds of energies when I see them. Please make sure that you're telling your people what's going on in your life. If you have like one very good friend or a family member or, a therapist or whatever, please just let them know who the person is, what they've been saying, how it makes you feel. I don't care if it's irrational. I don't care if it's, people are, oh, you're attention seeking or whatever. I don't care. Make sure that you check in with people and keep, if it is sketchy, make sure that you're keeping documentation. You just never know. You never know. And I don't like to be like a fear monger of things, but also I live in this world just like you, and I know what people be like sometimes. So I want you to be safe. Okay, so here we go. 6, 7. Or how do you say 6, 7? 6 and a 7. I know it's not exactly, but yes, it is. So we have, it looks like, I'm getting the initials VK, and LE. I'm not good at doing the words. I'm good at Boggle. Boggle's my favorite game ever, but yeah, I don't know. If there is a word in there, you let me know. But it does feel like LE, and then we have VK. We also have the number 8. We have the spiral. And we have a person. It looks like a person as the days later because it looks stretched. There's shadows being cast. It's distorted. We have trees. We have a bird overhead. So it is a place of contemplation. I think that's going to be the big thing for you, is allowing yourself the space to be able to, it looks like Leo, kind of, Leo. You have a Leo? Do you have a Leo person in your life? It might be Leo. But it feels like where we're talking about doing the science, I feel you wanting to get outdoors. Let me just say that. I know it's annoying. People are like, oh, stop saying go touch grass and all that. I'm a firm believer in being out of doors as much as possible, being in the analog natural world. You don't have to be doing anything, even if you're just sitting there, we need these moments of connection, but also contemplation, without much distraction, although there's a lot of stimuli outside. But it is, I think it's important. I think it's something that you're going to have to really, I know you're a busy person. You're a busy person. Okay. You're a Gemini. Geminis never stop. So I feel like you're going to have to schedule this, like not as self-care, just as a must. This is like a must. You need time to decompress. You need time to regulate. You need time to think things through, not in a ruminating way, but in a way that you can just let the concepts of the day, of your worries, of your daydreams, whatever, let them go through your mind. Okay. Just let it play. And, and then after you do that for a while, you start to come to places where you can really be more intentionally involved in a contemplative way. We have to learn how to make space to contemplate. And that is to really consider things deeply. And that usually, in my belief anyways, we should try to get to a place where we're not coming to any kind of conclusions or taking a side or marrying ourselves to a belief or whatever. This is a place where things can be more ambiguous. Okay. It's more accessible. You can get into thinking that pushes you further and further out. I have this idea that we would be so much better off if people read or experienced more of the archetypes in a way that was more understandable. And I mean this because I feel like the more we experience and kind of take into ourselves, right? You are introduced to a new idea and you start to really kind of understand that idea on a deeper, more dynamic level. Well, that is reflected in our ability as people, as individuals, to be more things, to experience more things, because we have more language or understanding of experience. And I think that's something, I don't know, I do. I think that it's kind of like this idea of color, until color pigment was introduced, that it was blue, like a blue color, and there and cultures that had no words for blue, they didn't perceive blue in the way that we do now, or the variety, the spectrum of blues. That when the concept and also having a blue pigment and having the language to describe that was introduced to other cultures, they started to have the experience of blue, right? And so I don't know how true that is. I've seen it online for years, but this is true of ourselves. We can't believe ourselves to be something, or at least allow ourselves to explore something, if we don't know anything about it, right? So, I think it's important. Anyways, I'm rambling. I'm going on. I could talk your ear off. I'm glad this is at the end of the thing. 75 is the first lucky number. 7. 19. All right. Okay. And I think that's it. Yeah, we're done. All right. I love you. Thank you for being here. If you want to like, subscribe, or leave a comment, it helps the channel. Other than that, I thank you again. We will talk soon. Bye.